Hello, and welcome to this episode of GenAI Live. My name is Brian Terry, and I'm a senior partner solution architect. Specifically, I focus on partners that do help do migrations from on-prem or in the cloud to AWS Bedrock. And I'm here with my good friend Parijat. Parijat, how about you introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Parijat Avasthi. I'm also a senior partner solution architect at AWS, and I am super excited to be on the show today. And Brian, I know you might be missing your friend, so yeah, I'm filling in for him today. But yeah, really looking forward to an exciting show. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining in from. Say, feel free to say hi in the chat on the platform where you're receiving the stream, and let's kick it off. So
Yeah. So, like, if this is your first time joining the show, we're happy that you're here with us. You can join us every Wednesday at 8 Pacific time to 9 a.m. Pacific time. So, if you want to learn about the latest and greatest and what's going on in Gen AI or what's going on with AWS partners in the space, this is the place to be. So, Parijat, I mean, there's been a lot of interesting news around the models around Bedrock. What have you seen this week?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel it sounds almost like a cliche that the things are changing at the ever fast clip pace. But that's true. That's a reality because in the last couple of weeks we announced the availability of Anthropic Claude Sonnet 3.7 on Amazon Bedrock. Now we also have DeepSeek R1 model available as the fully managed model on Amazon Bedrock. And from on the agentic AI front, we have something called as multi-agent collaboration, which is now available so that you can build a network of specialized agents who will work under the guidance of a supervisor agent to execute your workflow in a much more efficient manner. So another capability for the developers who are building the agentic AI capabilities in their applications.
Yeah,
So
this is super exciting. I love to see this kind of be built into Bedrock, and it kind of shows that like if you choose to build on Bedrock, you have these options to get these new models and these new features kind of out of the box with little or no configuration at some point.
yeah, absolutely. And today, speaking as of today, when I look back in the hindsight in the past few years, so I've got a question for you, Brian. So what do you think people think about when we talk about Gen AI? What comes to their mind?
So I've talked to a lot of different people, and it always varies between whether you're a CEO of a company or you're a developer on the front line. So they're very, very independent, like opinions on it. But in general, I find that all of them find like it increases their productivity. They are super excited about the next wave of technology. I mean, what are you hearing?
I'm hearing, I mean, when I talk to my friends and family, they talk about generative AI. Oh, it's probably a chatbot, right? But Uh, but people in the tech industry, in the industry world, we know that it goes way beyond chatbots, right? There are possibilities are far and beyond. So I think that's going to be the topic for today. We'll talk to our partners and find out how they are solving the business problems and building the use cases using GenAI, which are beyond chatbots. So
I
what have we
agree.
got
I think
today?
exactly. So we do have an exciting show, and we do have a couple of awesome partners that are going to give us some good demos and show us what we can do with Gen AI beyond the chatbot, just like you said. And I'm super excited to kind of bring in our first guests. Let's bring him in and have him introduce himself. Yosef, how about you introduce yourself to the audience?
Well, hello everyone. My name is Youssef. As you could see, I work for Devoteam, so we're a consultancy company that is specialized in a cloud. What we call a cloud is AWS, and I'm ML Ops and AI engineer. So I basically help customers move to AWS or develop their own AI around AWS ecosystem. And I'm very excited to be here with you guys.
Super exciting. So yeah, Pearjob brought up the idea of like
Mhm.
chatbots and That's kind of what people think about when they think about Gen AI at this first conception. Kind of talk to us a little bit about what you guys are doing in that space and how you're evolving beyond that.
Yeah, definitely. I have a lot to talk about in that context, but just to roll back to the first things you've spoken about, the exciting news about the new models and everything, it's very exciting, but we have a little pain point here in Europe is that, by the way, I'm based in Paris and I represent France mostly. So the little pain point is that models take time to develop here in Europe, to be available in Europe. And we have a lot of regulations here that specify that we have to make the security our main topic, our priority. And in that sense, we cannot use, for example, data outside Europe and out of our clusters, meaning that in Europe, in the European market, we have different problems. We have a lot to catch on with. And that reflects on companies. So when we help companies, we've seen that most use cases, most companies, they started in 2023 exploring the Gen AI, seeing what's going on, the latest news with ChatGPT by the days and everything. And then in 2024, they started formalizing those use cases. So how can we get some value out of Gen AI? What can we do with it? And they started developing. And this is where most of companies, the first thing they thought about is chatbots. So chatbots was the easiest thing to develop and have a value created right out of it. So we participated in creating all kind of chatbot. We had the customer support chatbot, the internet chatbots like Internet GPT, because security is a main concern here. We had specialized chatbots like RAG for HR and different services. And this year, we've seen a surge of different use cases. So I'm here to talk about them. I'm here to talk about those use cases, the beyond chatbots. And let me dive into it directly. So I can mention 2 or 3 use cases that are very interesting and we worked on here in Devoteam Cloud. The first one was a very popular one because we showcased it in the summit last year here in Paris and everything. It started from a client who wanted to search for pieces of art, like paintings, through his database. So he had a database and he wanted to look for a piece of art using text. And we used embedding. And then when we were done with that project, we said, you know what, we have a good ground to start a nice use case. Let's expand this to generating our own paintings. So we're using AI here, Stable Diffusion, using Bedrock, of course. And we use it to either look for a painting or create a new one. So to achieve that, you gotta mention the type of art you want. Do you want Art Nouveau? Do you want some kind of concrete or creative way of doing it? And then whatever you want to see in that picture and everything. And then the solution looks in the database to see if there are some examples that matches whatever you're looking for. And then you can either pick that one or choose to create something similar. Or of course, you can bring all the modification you can. And this use case was important because it brought more colors, values to blog posts, to videos, to whatever we wanted to do. Everyone likes colors when there's a post on social media or anywhere. So that was our first beyond chatbot use case, and we did it mostly internally, and we use it for our own teams and everything. It was very liked. And then moving on, we had the Olympics last year, the Paris Olympics 24, and we had a customer in the media sector that wanted to bring the news to his clients while keeping it short and not the standard way of reading whatever. So the idea was developing a newsletter that is 100% vocal. It was meant to be broadcasted in the radios and also on their blog. And it would tell you who is competing today, what is the major thing to follow, where are the French athletes competing, of course, and what are the major results of the day before, and of course the leaderboard of the medals and who won the most. So that's another success story that we proudly tell, and it's online. Everyone can check it. I cannot tell the customer name, but that's another story. And then I have a use case that is way more complex and is way more useful, I'd say, because I worked on it, of course. And it's a movie recommender. So here we're working with Bouygues Telecom for the French people. You can say Bytel. It's a phone and internet provider. And the service is basically recommending movies, TV shows, and series to people who like to watch it. So the statement is, when you get on the TV with your family in the evening, you want to watch something, you keep scrolling for way too much. You keep scrolling. It takes time, especially if you're a family. The product is mainly directed for families, so it takes too much time. Not everyone's happy, and it ends up with a tense moment or a lot of wasted time. So the idea here is to come up with something to put everyone on the same page and have them pick a movie in under 3 minutes. That's the bet. That's a challenge. We tried to do it. We came up with a solution, and I'm excited to say that now I can not only demonstrate it, but it's also available for something more than 10,000 customers, and it's going to be, yeah. So, do you want
Super
me to?
exciting stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
those examples you talked about were super exciting stuff, and that's really starting to, I guess, take shape in the industry on how you can use Gen AI to do multiple different things, right? I mean, Parijat, I mean, this is kind of what you talked about earlier. So, like, we started with chatbots, and now we're here. This is good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I look at GenAI as something that enables me or helps me make, decisions faster, especially in this case, because I personally feel that, whenever at the, on the Friday evening when I'm sitting in front of the TV with the remote on, I am always constantly faced with this decision fatigue that what to watch. I spend almost like 15 to 20 minutes deciding and scrolling through the content. So yes, something like this I feel personally that can be really helpful for a consumer like me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a lot of people sharing the same problem every evening. And it's surprising some of the people who were calling us to say, yeah, indeed, we needed that.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to show you the demo if you all
Oh,
like.
yeah. So you have a demo. So yeah, let's see your
Oh
demo.
yes. Let's see it.
Okay. Let's go. I tried to do a little translation to the text, but well, it's mainly in French, so the translation quality is not the best. Then again, I'll help you understand whatever is in French. Don't worry. Like, what should we look at? It's not what's supposed to be written there, but in French, it translates to that. Anyways, so this is our interface. We have here a first selection stage. This is what we call filters, and we can have more choices here. And this we can choose if you want to watch movie, TV show, the genre of what we want to watch, the production, the period, the duration, if we're in a hurry or if we can take time. And of course, we're not obliged to select everything. And another important aspect is the menu. I'll start with this one. So here we have the filters and it directs us to the same thing we just saw. And this is a way to keep it all the way with us. The settings, we don't need that. And the platforms, this is an important part. Here we can have the different providers of what we're using. So different providers of movies and TV shows. We can choose if we have a subscription for one and not the other one. We can make it available or unavailable at choice. And then we have the viewer's age or the parental control. So if you're a family, we want to set it to the youngest child, maybe not. And then there is more than one way to interact with this. Where this is different is that we can make everyone a part of the decision. By clicking here, we get a QR code. I invite you guys to scan it to live the interactive demo.
All right, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please. And you will see that when you scan the QR code, you will join the session, and then you can write whatever you want, interact with our AI, ask for whatever you want. Here I can see that, okay, 4 phones have scanned it. So here's the kind of chatbot. So we're not going very far from chatbots. And what we can see is that it replies when it needs to, meaning that the security makes it not reply to most of questions out of context, and also skip everything that is not good. Anyways, so the point here is that you have to specify what you want to watch. So for example, if I want to watch, I don't know, a movie with a woman as a principal character, or if I want to watch something with, I don't know, comedy, but not too much, not too funny. And of course, so we can say anything we want, and we can ask for whatever we want. So this is the point. This chatbot, and everyone can have it. So I'm not following. I didn't scan, so I cannot follow what you're saying.
Let's see. I'm gonna watch a comedy. Let's see.
And now this is all taken in consideration. And when I click on make a proposition, it will take time. So what's happening behind is that there are agentic approach to see if we're looking for a research, if we're looking for a recommendation, and then we're looking for whatever people want to watch. If it's like a long show, not very long, the filters, and then we try to match it with a RAG system with our catalog. So we have the synopsis of every movie with the cast, the genre and everything, and we match it with what we have. Of course, it's been parsed, and we use that augmentation behind to get the most of it. And we have this movie, these recommendations, and what we have on top of it, now it's going to be more French, is that you can see that little text on top of it, and it explains why we had this movie as a recommendation. So we got the explanation for each recommendation. For example, this one, it says this fantasy movie is comic, it's funny, and the casting is impressive. So it corresponds to what you asked for. And same for other movies. Now let me show another way to do it. Another way to do it is just going through if you're too lazy to scan or talk to the AI, you can just do it manually by specifying, for example, I want a sci-fi movie and I want it from the US. Okay. Now what happens is that the AI tries to get more information about what we're trying to find here. So out there. So we have questions, what we call polls. This is all generated by AI, so it's very dynamic. It changes according to what you've chosen before, and also to make it very gamified for especially the kids, but also the whole family, and to avoid the boring part. So here, for example, I go for, like, I chose sci-fi. It asks me if I want in the space, in futuristic environment, modern environment, etc. Let's go for space. I get a third question, and then it gives me recommendations. Let's go for astronaut. And here, everyone can vote with their phones also. So it's also interactive for the whole family. And
super interesting. So behind the scenes, this is running a agentic AI flow no matter what interface you're using, right?
Yeah. So the agentic is mostly used to determine if we're looking for a research or recommendation. The research is if I say, for example, I want a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, It's just going to take Leonardo DiCaprio and search through my movies which one has Leonardo DiCaprio in the cast. If I want to say to look for I don't know, maybe a quote from a movie, if I say "Hasta la vista, baby," it's going to be a research for Terminator, the Terminator. And then another approach is recommendation, and that's where the user does not know what he wants to watch. He's just looking for something random. He wants like a light-hearted comedy or something, then he can type that. And the agentic approach goes to recommendation. And from then on, it's a whole process.
Wow, this is super interesting.
And tell us more about, under the hood, at a high level, how does the architecture look like it, right? So you're using Bedrock. So what kind of model that you're using for the recommendations? What kind of
Yeah.
databases, embedding vector database?
So first of all, it's RAG basically for the retrieval of the movies from our catalogs. So we're using Bedrock with the OpenSearch. The models behind, as you could see, the latency is a very important fact here. So we're mostly using Claude Haiku because we need it to be as fast as possible. We cannot just keep waiting for a stream or whatever. We're using Haiku, and since Haiku is not the most performant one, what we did is try to make a modular approach, meaning we have so many different layers and we make it into so many divided steps. So if we look at the under the hood, what's happening, I like to show this one. This one is normally for the developers, but I like to show it. So here, this is what we call explain, and it explains what's going on. So what I just did, I can get it in the logs here. So I picked like a astronaut, sci-fi, etc. I can see the filters that were created from my input. And I get, so first of all, a summary of everyone, so no one's left out. So the summary includes what everyone said. And I think this one is exactly what we chose. Yeah. So this is a summary of what we said or how we interacted with the AI. And then we have 3 different ways. So all of this is generated by Claude Haiku. So the first one is concept. What we call concept is a keyword here, astronaut or sci-fi movie with an explanation, and that help us create more content. And that what's help us with the RAG. And then we generate titles, like we tell Haiku, hey, you know some movies about sci-fi, give us examples. And then we take those 3 inputs and we match them with catalog. Like everyone will be matched in the catalog using RAG, and we get maybe 15, 20 movies that we process through our re-ranker. So the re-ranker takes the movies, takes the synopsis, the cast, everything that it needs to know, and puts them in the order, and it gives us the final recommendation that we saw. So these are the recommendations we saw just earlier, and then we send again those recommendations to another process that looks for justifications why we recommended what we recommended and how it makes sense in our use case.
Wow, this is very cool.
This is indeed cool. And how have you been seeing the response in the French market? I believe this is mainly available in France, right?
Yeah, it's only available in France because the phone provider is mainly available in France. It's been launched not so long ago, so we're still trying to get a feedback. It's not immediate. It's been released, I believe 1 or 2 weeks ago. And it's not public yet, so we're just released it to like 10,000 customers for now, and we're planning to ramp up and making it public soon. So the feedbacks are mostly very positive. We're looking for those feedbacks to move on with the public release. This is the idea.
Nice.
Wow. So this is very cool. Where do you think this application will evolve to? Like, what is your big idea where this thing should be?
This is a very good question. Well, we have a lot of people saying, well, this is just an application to make us use the system and then buy movies and promote whatever propaganda you want to make us watch. This was very funny. But I think the idea here is really to promote all providers equally and try to, because everyone has so many subscriptions now. And the idea is to make a portal that's gathering all those subscriptions and making it easy for everyone. We're a phone and internet company, so it's available in our boxes, TV boxes. So we're not trying to really make direct money of it or anything. So the future of the app is really just getting used, getting like a good portal for every subscription.
Awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, this sounds super interesting, and I would love to try this myself if I had the chance. So,
Mhm.
yeah, and I can really see the play GenAI is having here and how it is making the viewers to make those decisions at a faster pace. Again, goes back to the philosophy of helping you do things faster using GenAI and in a more efficient way. So yeah, this definitely embodies all those principles.
Yeah, definitely. The
Absolutely.
decision making principle is definitely the center of Gen AI, I think.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, we only have a couple more minutes left in this
Mhm.
chat. So, can you tell us where we can find out more information on this application or what your company is working on?
Well, the application is mainly available in France under Bouygues Telecom or Bytel, as I said. So it's going to be in the TV boxes. Not much you do, it just downloads automatically. So nothing much to do. Other projects, we have so many projects in common, a lot of creativity. We are in the innovation lab, so we have a lot of projects. Of course, I cannot talk about, but they're coming very soon. If you want to follow us, we're doing basically all the major expositions here in France. It's, as I said, Bouygues Telecom, and a lot of very promising projects.
Awesome. Awesome.
Awesome.
So, super excited. It's been a great conversation. I learned a lot, especially about your new application, and I hope it comes to America at some point because I really do want to use it. To
Very
Bear
well.
John's point. Yeah. So yeah,
Great.
super excited. Thank you for joining us for this
Thank you guys
episode,
for the
and
invitation.
definitely please come back if you have more features or you just want to show some more cool stuff. So we're going to take a quick break, but we're not done yet. We actually have another guest that's actually going to come on and talk about something cool in Gen AI. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back in a few minutes. Welcome, welcome, welcome to this episode of Gen AI Live. My name is Brian Terry, and I'm a senior solution or partner solution architect here at AWS, focusing in the Gen AI space, basically helping partners that help customers migrate from wherever they are to AWS Bedrock. And I'm joined here with my good friend Parijat. Parijat, how would you introduce yourself?
Hey Brian, thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Parijat Avasthi. I'm with AWS. I'm a senior partner solution architect, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. So,
Yeah.
another quick one, Brian. So back in the day, I mean, not so far ago, like only 2 or 3 years ago, I saw a meme where a parent is asking about to a child that, "What do you want to be, when you grow up?" And the child responds by saying, "Prompt engineer." And I was like, what is that? What's this new thing? Right? But today we know like how important prompt engineering is and how it can be a really crucial aspect of building your Gen AI applications. So so
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. So I think we really had a great uh, conversation just moments ago, and really excited to be here today, and can't really wait to welcome our next guest on the
Yes,
show.
yes, exactly. And for the audience, if this is your first time joining us, we're super happy that you're here. You can join us every Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific time and to learn about the latest and greatest in Gen AI. But with no further ado, let's bring in our next guest, Byron. Byron, how
Hey,
about you introduce yourself to the audience?
sure. Hey, Brian. Hey, Parijat. Thank you so much for having me on the show. My name is Byron Voorbach. I'm field CTO at Weaviate. And for the people that don't know Weaviate, Weaviate is a AI native vector database. We've been around for a little bit over 5 years, way before the Gen AI, well, don't want to call it hype, but the Gen AI wave has started. So we were doing vector search very early on, which we slowly have seen evolve into retrieval augmented generations, and nowadays Gen AI or agentic AI. So super excited to be chatting with you both.
Yeah. I mean, agentic AI is a very hot kind of space right now. And I'm super excited to talk to you about, what your company's doing and how you're kind of evolving and inventing into that space.
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to talk a little bit more about that. So as I mentioned, we originally started with vector search roughly around 5 years ago, which gave us the benefit of being able to build a database that could actually scale to large number and large quantities of data, being able to do things like concurrent indexing and querying at high scale, but also features like filtering and hybrid search, etc. So really allowing companies to build these Gen AI applications. 5 years ago, that wasn't really the case yet, as embedding models were typically like confined to companies that had a bunch of data scientists that were able to train these models and actually build these embedding models and launch them. But with the rise of these model providers, where, for instance, Bedrock is a great addition to the entire toolset, where companies can now easily plug in these different types of models into our database to be able to make these applications. So we're fully integrated into Bedrock, and we see a lot of our customers get benefits from that. Especially as you guys just mentioned, like the DeepSeek model is now available. The new Claude model is available. Like, I think that's great for companies that really want to build these top-notch new wave agentic and both Gen AI types of applications.
And Noah, not to forget, Noah,
Yeah,
yes, which provides a comparable performance at a really low cost.
yeah. I think I have a question for you guys. Like, how do you see companies evaluate and choose the different models that, for instance, are offered on Bedrock?
For me, I see like customers having that choice to choose the model by using Bedrock, right? I mean, in Bedrock, we have a lot of solutions that, allow customers to kind of switch out that model when they need it, or if that model upgrades, so we get the latest and greatest, they can easily switch it out pretty easily. And I think that's been one of the important things I've seen from customers. Parijat, how about you?
No, same. So basically, they have the capability to try different models, test the performance of different models, and then select the model that best fits their use cases. So we have seen customers using Anthropic, Nova, DeepSeek, uh, stability diffusion, depending on the use case. They really have that capability to try and test different models and then accordingly decide that this one suits the best for my use case. So let's go ahead with this one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something we definitely noticed as well. So when we started originally, it was very much focused on embedding models. Large language models wasn't really the thing yet that was publicly available. And in embedding models, your quality and your search that you will eventually need for your retrieval augmented generation is only as good as the embedding model you choose. So evaluating different embedding models for different use cases in different industries. Then on top of that came large language models, because companies need to make a decision and trade-off between performance, cost, and quality.
Yep.
So as part of our database, we actually have sort of a modular setup that we had inside of the application or in the database since the beginning, that allows for something similar to Bedrock. So being able to choose a different embedding model or choose a different large language model integration with just a few lines of code. So for instance, Weaviate is connected to Bedrock, where we can just call and act as a proxy. So if people want to build retrieval augmented generation applications, they can do that with a single API. So we're super excited that like a lot of our customers are actually using Bedrock and able to directly integrate without the hassle of like having to set everything up and code everything themselves.
Yeah.
Can you take a few moments to talk about like what applications kind of are you looking at or your customers using to do this kind of workflow?
For sure. Definitely. Like, I think the great thing is that over time, initially when we just did vector search, typically you could only explain the benefits, or people only saw the benefits within e-commerce search. So instead of being able to just search with keywords, vector search unlocks you being able to semantically describe what you're looking for, which is now sort of the basis that we see for the different chatbots, etc., that were coming out of retrieval augmented generation solutions. Over time, I think more and more companies are seeing the benefit of not having to search with keywords, but sort of more vaguely describe what they're looking for, because that's how we as humans think and ask questions. So we're very constrained to our thinking by like, okay, we're on a website, so it's a computer, so we need to talk keywords because otherwise we can't find our information. But now being able to ask questions like, how did Apple do in their 10K? What's their most performing product? And searching through PDFs. So I think we slowly saw that switch of enterprise search to now retrieval augmented generation with chatbots. So a lot of companies like start out with internal use cases and internal applications for internal chatbots. I think this year we'll see a lot more companies doing that customer facing. We can talk a little bit about like what problems we see with that from our side, and then I think we're seeing the first companies experience with agentic AI, and I can touch upon that a little bit later, as well as we are also sort of in that domain with additional features that we just released.
Yeah, and that'll be interesting to hear about what you're doing in the agentic space, because that's the next, or probably the current big thing right now. So yeah, happy to talk about that. What
Yeah.
have you built any agents? Because I would really love to build an agent that reports to me every morning, says that agent XYZ reporting at your service, sir.
Yeah, that'd be great. I would like, ever since the first Ironman, I've been wanting my own personal Jarvis. So that is definitely I feel you there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do really think agentic AI is definitely the next big thing. Retrieve augmented generation was great. It has done a lot of good already, but I think a lot of people are also seeing the limitations of having sort of this one-off interaction. It prompts the data, but most of the time you also want to do something with the output, not just present it to a user, but maybe you want to write data back into the database for later use. So for instance, you can do automatic summaries. You don't just want to present the summary, but you want to store that back, and next time you don't actually have to create the summary. So there's going to be more interactions, I think, and that's what we're seeing from our perspective with customers. So I think retrieve augmented generation brings in a lot more developers into the AI space, which is good.
Yep.
Because there needs to be a lot more knowledge, where before this was very much to data scientists, ML engineers, model fine-tuning, etc. But now data engineers and software engineers are able to build these applications, and I think agentic AI or agents is going to make that even better. So we're seeing people that never coded a single line of code in their life all of a sudden do vibe coding and be able to build games and applications and proof of concepts. Let's keep it at proof of concepts and not enterprise applications yet. But that is definitely something we're seeing. We're seeing a lot more people getting interested, and I think that's a good thing for the space. So you mentioned before that Bedrock is also going towards like being able to build agents. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yes.
But we've also been doing something similar. So we just released 2 agents natively to Weaviate. One is the query agent, and the other is a transformation agent. And I can quickly show a demo a little bit later on the query agent. But basically what it does, it allows you to talk with natural language to the database. So if you have questions, typically if you want to learn a new database, or if you want to interact with a database, you have to learn its APIs. And you need to build a pipeline for understanding a user query, translating that into vector search and keyword search along with filters, knowing which collection to query. But what if we have an agent that's been trained on the database APIs that can do all of that for you? That means that you can just express yourself in natural language, and then Weaviate will take care, or the agent that's underneath will take care by querying the database and formulating a response.
Awesome. So yeah, let's take a look at a demo. I mean, I'm super excited to see a demo.
Sure. So we'll be sharing the outputs of the demo, because in the past I've had issues with doing full live demos. So let me just share my screen real quick, and we'll jump to that. So what I'll show you is a little bit of code, which directly uses our new Python client to be able to execute the agent. And let's say you would have a query that you would want to run against the database where you say, what are the counts of the top 5 most popular categories with prices between $30 and $80? And this is a use case for within e-commerce, which means that we have a collection that contains a lot of different products. And what we're asking for is give a list of an overview of the categories that have products between these price ranges. And if you would ask a developer, or as a business person, you would ask your developers, please make sure that we can implement these type of queries, then this is quite a difficult query to implement on any database or search engine, because we have quite some different list of semantics in here. Like, what are the counts, which is an interesting word, top 5, most popular, and prices between 30 and 80. Now, these are quite a lot of semantic inputs that are difficult to map out to an actual query, because what we notice as part of this query, we're not just searching for the top 5 most popular, but we're also going to filter these results down between a certain price range. So we already see a little bit of the snippet of what the final answer is, but the more important part on that is what did we actually execute under the hood? So we can already tell that the final answer is we get bottoms with a count of 61, tops, accessories, outerwear, and dresses and jumpsuits. So we can already see the response is properly formatted. So we've done sorting, we've done the counting, and we extracted the top 5 most popular categories. We can see here that we don't do any searches, as our query agent can do 2 things. It can run queries where we ask it to find me X, or we can ask it count me or aggregate or summarize. And these are aggregation queries in Weaviate. So in this case, we're not doing a search because we're not looking for a specific type of product, but we're asking it to aggregate. So if we now scroll down, we can actually see to what happened under the hood. And we can see this is our Weaviate query API. We can see that we have an aggregation result with no search query. We're grouping by category. And then we're asking for the top occurrences with a limit of 5. And then we apply 2 filters. So we say either greater or equal than 30 or lesser or equal than 80. And we'll do that on the e-commerce collection. This is something that just based on the natural language question that we asked above. Otherwise, developers have to learn and implement to dynamically build these queries. And then in this case, we can actually see that we're actually talking to an LLM where we get statistics back about the input and how many queries we've done. So yeah, we're super excited about this type of capabilities. And this is sort of the first example. And I don't know if you have any questions in between before I show the second one.
So this query, you are querying the database, or are you querying the vector database?
Yeah, so it directly queries the vector database.
Vector database, okay.
Yes,
got it.
Correct.
Yeah, and I'm assuming this would span across the unstructured data as well, not just the data which is residing in the SQL database.
Yeah, so in this case, everything in this case is stored in Weaviate.
Right.
So Weaviate is the full storage. It has both the vectors, but also the original text information. So we store both objects and vectors. So everything is contained within our database.
Got it. Yep.
Just to show you a little bit more elaborate one. So let's say I typically like vintage clothes and nice shoes. Can you recommend me some of each below 60, some above 100, order by type, price, category, and give me 3 recommendations per category? This is a very elaborate query. I don't know if either of you have ever typed this into a web shop online. Probably not, but you could imagine that as we are introducing new modalities, being able to use voice, for instance, to trigger this question, or have a more engaging UI interface that makes users type out these type of questions. I think if more and more people see that these capabilities are coming to fruition right now, maybe we slowly see a shift in how people interact with different systems. But in this case, we can see that this is a very elaborate question, and we can see that we have an output already where we can see that we have 3 below $60. We have a few that are above 100. It's too much information to go through, but again, let's have a quick look at these searches. So we can see that we're searching for vintage clothes we use the price because we want everything that's less than. So as we mentioned, we like vintage clothes and nice shoes. We can see that the second search is doing the same, below 60 with nice shoes. Then we're looking for vintage clothes above 100, nice shoes above 100. And then these 4 searches, the outputs of those are combined and returned. So in this case, we can actually see that Weaviate in this case was able to fully combine these queries and give them the outputs for that.
And this is all being done by the query agent.
Correct. So in this case, the query agent is trained on the APIs of Weaviate, so it knows exactly how to translate natural language into different queries, which is an interesting topic as we see more and more models being able to directly natively use tools and talk to databases. We took this one step further by just making sure that these agents are able to directly talk to Weaviate.
Got it. And I'm assuming this is available as a SaaS offering, Weaviate database.
Yes, correct. So Weaviate is fully open source itself. So users or people can download it, run it themselves, host it on their machine, run it in their own clouds. But next to that, we have a SaaS offering where we're able to either run in our cloud, but we also do something what we call managed BYOC, which is bring your own cloud. So if companies like to run this on AWS in their own environment, but don't want to send this data to a third party, we can also help manage that within their own cloud.
And the use case could be any, right? So right now we talked about the retail, I think, but I believe the use case could really be any vertical industry, banking, finance, or wherever you need to do the query, the database in a natural language, this can potentially be used.
We see it really as a sort of next step for developers to implement either vector search or retrieve augmented generation. As these questions, like we can see that there's automatic multiple searches executed. So we basically give that agentic like sort of pipeline of reasoning and re-executing search and combining results natively as part of the database. So you don't have to build that yourself, and you can just rely on that from a Weaviate perspective. And you were right, this is just an e-commerce use case, but this could work anywhere. So in legal, in finance, like anywhere where you have like natural language questions you would ask on top of data, which is currently almost all the use cases, this could be beneficial.
Awesome. So again, question on a lighter note. So now since GenAI is doing all the work for us, acting as a DBA, so what happens to the skills in the market? A person aspiring to be a DBA should they really be aspiring to become a GenAI DBA?
I mean, that's a tough question. I think initially when we started long time ago, we were one of the few. So we were like purpose built. This in mind, everything has been built from scratch. We're not relying on any existing frameworks, databases to have the database operate, which means that we can actually scale. We have companies and companies that work with us that are in the billion scale. So they're planning to upload 5 to 15 billion vectors into the database. Now, over the last year and a half, a lot of databases have been adding vector support. Because this is one of the main new sort of modalities for databases to build these type of applications. I think every database should aspire to be a vector database. The question is like, and how far can you push your like existing underlying technology to actually be able to do that at large full scale?
Wow. This is pretty interesting. I love the idea of being able to search a database with natural language. I imagine this speeds up the development process when using tools like this.
For sure, and I think that's sort of what we're focusing on the agentic side. So we're not allowing. Well, we provide the infrastructure for people to build their own agents, as with the integrations with different frameworks that we have, but really be that storage layer for the agentic AI wave. So quickly on like sort of the second agent that we released as part of the database is our transformation agent. And what that allows you to do is like with RAG, we see that prompts and LLMs are very much used at the front end of the application. So it's very user facing. It's more for generating results based on generating text based on results from the LLM. But what if you use a large language model during ingestion? So instead of having an ETL pipeline where you do translations, you clean up data, why not prompt the database to clean up the data for you? And that's what the transformation agent does. So it allows you to either index data with the prompt, like let's take an e-commerce example. Let's say I want to do tagging or clustering and extract information from the data and add a new property like category. Let's say I don't have a category field in my objects. I could index data into Weaviate with a prompt, use the title and description field and extract me a category field and store that inside of the object. And Weaviate would then take care of that. It can do that both with adding new data, updating existing data. Let's say we add more categories and we need to rescope all the data, or but also it can delete data for it. So delete data where X is less than, etc. So there's a lot more like of the bringing the power of the large language model directly into the database, where we want to make sure that users can choose at one point their own language models and still be able to run all of this.
Got it. And how easy it is to use these agents in, while if I'm a developer, then what do I need to do in order to use these agents?
Yep, that's a great question. So Weaviate core itself is fully open source. The agents are currently parts of our enterprise platform. So we have it currently available in preview as we just released them the last couple of weeks on our serverless and sandbox environment. So that means that people can go to our website. Serverless is you start with $25 a month. You pay as you go. Right now, the agents are free to use, because we're trying to get some customer feedback. So feel free to go to weaviate.io if you wanna check those out. And then in the future we'll be rolling those out for the enterprise as well.
Got it.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome. So I'm super excited. This is really good stuff. I love it.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's interesting that I would like to hear is, like you mentioned, agents on the Bedrock side. How do you all see the adoption of agentic AI? Is that something that is very much people are still exploring, or are you guys already seeing companies actually wanting to bring that to either internal or external production use cases?
Yeah, so the clients that I'm working with, the partners that I'm working with, they are definitely, considering the use of agents in their workflows, in their application workflows, the use cases that they are planning to build. And yes, they are very much using the capability of agents, Amazon Bedrock agents, available through Bedrock. So using that, you can create or build your agents and help them collaborate together to achieve a specific or desired goal that you are trying to accomplish. So yeah, this is very much real. And again, it depends on the maturity curve of the I would say, like, the enterprise, where how
Yeah.
far they are in their journey of generative AI. Because I would like to just quote our speaker from the previous session. So, and I really believe that. So, it's not that you just go and start building agent AI on day one as your first dabble into generative AI. You start with data, you start with analytics, then you start with AI ML, then test out generative AI, and that's when and not really the final step, but the later step in that journey would be your agentic AI. And Amazon AWS, we provide you all the different tools which are required to build those capabilities in your applications.
Yeah, that's great. I think that overlaps with a lot with what we're seeing as well. So it's great to see a lot more focus on the AWS side on the Bedrock angle. So yeah, we're super happy that we're able to integrate and run on AWS with that.
Yeah. So question for you, how do you see this evolving? So I believe, like, you talked about three agents, right? The query agent, transform agent, and the personalization agent, right? So how do you see yourself evolving and probably building newer agents, more agents, and what kind of agents would those be? Any thoughts around that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I showed two of the or talked about two of the agents so far. The third one is one that hasn't been released yet, but we're working on that, and it's called the personalization agent. The personalization agent takes into account user interaction, or user personas. So as a developer, you could keep track of user interactions and store those inside of Weaviate. And then whenever a user does a query, you can personalize those results based on their previous interactions. So we use a persona-based re-ranking on top of the query agent. So at that point, if you use all three together, it allows developers to quickly build full end-to-end applications where they have full control over the content. They can clean up content, because I know a lot of companies know and people know garbage in is garbage out. So you always need to make sure you clean content and work on that, which is solved sort of with the transformation agent. The query agent really allows for being able to do these kind of searches, both for developers or other people that have interest in gaining more knowledge from the data that they've already stored. And the personalization agent is great for use cases where personalization is a topic. Again, recommendations and personalization has always been very much hidden in the data science ML corner. And we're really trying to bring all of these tools to software and data engineers so that they can all build these type of applications. For the future, there might be more agents coming. I think we're sort of evaluating how much of the value add, what it brings to our customers, but also what kind of feedback we get from the community. So being an open source database, we value developer input a lot. So you could think about maybe automatically chunking data or automatically retrieving data from different sources as part of agents. None of those are planned, but they could definitely be something that we'll add in the future.
Awesome.
Listen,
And one last fun fact, not really a fact, but because I don't have the account, but I feel we said agents way more than GenAI in the today's conversation. So that
True.
tells us the situation about agents.
I
Agents
guess
are
so. Well, they're still generating something, so it's still
Yeah.
technically Gen AI, I guess.
Yes.
awesome. So we only have a couple minutes left in this discussion. It's been super exciting. This is really good stuff. Can you tell our users where they can find out more information about your agents or this project? Where can they go to even play around with this technology?
For sure. So you can find us at weaviate.io, which is our main website. We do a lot of events. We're at a lot of conferences. So if you're ever at one of the AWS summits, for instance, we typically have a booth there. So come and talk to us. We have an active public Slack and active forum. So if you want to know more, please visit our website and subscribe there, or you can find me on LinkedIn if you have any direct questions.
Awesome. Well, Byron, it's been super awesome to chat with you. I actually learned a lot, especially about your tooling and how you can use natural language to query databases. And I myself, I find myself wanting to try this technology right after this talk. So
Awesome. That's always great to hear. Thanks so much, guys, for having me on the show today.
Thank you, Byron.
yeah.
It was great
Yeah,
talking to you.
So thank you, Byron. Thank you, Parijat. This
Thank you,
has been an awesome episode of GenAI Live. And, you can join us every Wednesday from 8 to 9 a.m. To learn the latest and greatest about GenAI and tech. So please come back and join us and play with this tool, because I plan on doing it and I want you to do it. And we want to hear your feedback. So this has been another episode of GenAI Live. And please join us again. And yeah, that's it.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right.